The end of this day, 20 veterans will have committed suicide, and sadly tomorrow, another 20. It's a problem that is hard to spot before it's too late.
A corridor man is now going to battle to save veterans in the fight against the enemy from within. CBS 2 News anchor Janae Ryan shows us how in tonight's special report.
Some doctors believe many of the struggles veterans go through, like PTSD, stem from brain injuries, and some say these injuries can be helped with a therapy originally created to treat decompression sickness in sea divers. So now there's a fight for it to be used on veterans.
Nowadays, Michael Clare spends his time promoting local concerts. But back in the 80s, he wrestled several circuits, including WWF, as Dr. Squash.
You get thrown around every day. Every day you're taking body slams, backdrops, the worst of the worst.
Throughout his wrestling career, Clare suffered dozens of concussions.
About 4 years into the career, I had the career-ending one, which was out of the ring and onto the concrete on the back of my head.
Clare's health plummeted from his brain injuries.
I had a tremor in my left hand. I shook really bad, and then my head started to shake.
He needed a cane to walk, took 22 medications a day, became depressed, and lost all short-term memory.
When the doctors told me that this was my new normal, it was terrifying.
Hoping for a miracle,
I didn't think anything was going to be able to fix that.
Clare soon discovered Dr. Eddie Zant and his Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy Center in Florida. He took 40 dives.
Painless. It was super easy.
And finally resurfaced.
Well, about the 10th treatment, I woke up and I realized that I was awake. I don't know how to describe this to you or the viewers or anybody else, but it's this feeling of you're there.
Now he fights along with Dr. Zant for HBOT to become a mainstream prescription for veterans.
I figure I got a second chance at life now, and I'm going to spend it helping these soldiers get the treatment they need.
Along with Clare,
I get calls probably 2 or 3 a week from veterans just screaming out for help.
Dr. Zant, who was an Army doctor in the Vietnam War, has treated 42 war veterans pro bono or at a major discount.
Probably, I would say 95% of these men and women were completely returned to normal after their hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Dr. Zant theorizes veterans' PTSD, emotional and physical problems all form as a result of brain damage or concussions caused by explosions of war, which create toxic bubbles in the brain, like Ben's.
These guys were very smart, obviously, or they wouldn't have gotten into the special forces. And a lot of them come home and they can't put together full sentences because their brains have been rocked.
The hyperbaric oxygen therapy actually treats the injured brain. We're not treating the symptoms directly.
We are pretending, Jenny, that you are a patient now.
Dr. Marit Ibsen and Mike Holder at University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics
We are going to treat you in our chamber.
Showed photojournalist Mark Lessenai how this works inside Iowa's only hyperbaric oxygen multi-chamber.
You will get the oxygen for 30 minutes. Then we'll take the hood off, and then you will be breathing this air for 10 minutes.
Air break.
And we'll repeat that 3 times.
In addition to breathing 100% oxygen, the patient is inside air that's pressurized to below sea level, which forces that oxygen to stay within the body.
The superoxygenation of tissue start developing new vessels. And the whole tissue starts to be revascularized. And that means more oxygen is supplied, and then you go into a very good circle, you could say, and this is lasting. It's a lasting effect, which is very good.
But Iowa veterans don't come here for HBOT for their neurological problems. The VA doesn't even prescribe it.
They will treat these guys. They'll treat them with pills, and they'll treat them with counseling, and they're just not getting well with that.
All these big companies are making millions of dollars keeping these kids tranquilized instead of treating the actual problem, and they know it works.
But in the medical and political world, whether HBOT actually works on brain injuries isn't agreed upon because of a past controversial study.
Even before it started, those of us who looked at their protocol knew it was going to fail, and it did.
The man that did the main study for the Department of Defense recanted later and said, yes, it does work.
Dr. Ibsen says she and her team at UIHC have been asked to participate in a new study of how HBOT affects the brain.
I think it's will gonna find that this works and that it might end up be standard of care.
But until that may happen,
It's hugely expensive, unfortunately.
and it's not covered by insurance in Iowa.
Watch your head coming out that door.
But it's about $2,900 for a treatment.
And about how many treatments would a person make?
Between 20 and 40. And you know, there's no one that can pay that themselves.
Eventually, insurance will pay for it. So the science is there. They're just dragging their feet.
They're trying to classify oxygen as a drug under pressure. I don't know how you do that. It's air.
Claire continues to write Congress, trying to convince them to approve HBOT for Iowa vets.
And they get this nice form letter back, basically saying, oh, well, thank you for your interest in this, but it doesn't work. And yet, here I am. I'm here. It works. And I'm a civilian, and I was with soldiers who had been blown up, and it worked for them too.
Eventually, it will be accepted. I don't know when, but in the meantime, these guys are killing themselves.
They really love America, and America is letting them down.
Next summer, the company Claire works for, Bowtown Productions, they're putting on a concert to raise money for Zant's nonprofit. For more information on HBOT or Dr. Zant's practice, you can just visit our website, cbs2iowa.com. Covering the corridor, Janae Ryan, CBS 2 News.